Have you ever seen a movie that completely blew your mind? But not in the Inception or Primer kind of way. A movie so devoid of notion that it meanders from one scene to the next without any rhyme or reason. A movie so pointlessly constructed and poorly executed it leaves you with that itching feeling in the back of your head that says, well, what the f was the point of that?
What?
Magic Magic is a 2013 thriller starring Juno Temple, best known as that one actress from that one movie you saw, Emily Browning, best known as Baby Doll in Sucker Punch, and Laura Moon in American Gods, also as that one actress from that one movie, and wait a minute. What the hell is he doing in this movie? Was everyone just too polite to let him know that he wandered onto the wrong movie set? I mean, look, I like Michael Cera as much as the next guy, and he's even proven himself to be a pretty decent actor in more dramatic roles where he isn't playing a, Michael Cera-esque character, but in this heavy quotes around the thriller, he is hilariously miscast. But for now, I'll cut to the chase. Magic Magic is a bad movie, but it's a particular kind of bad movie. It's not like your The Room bad movies, movies so hilariously disjointed and incompetent that it gives you an existential crisis. It's not your Justice League bad movies, movies so bad you can almost see the producers literally burning away millions of dollars in a dumpster fire. No, Magic Magic is the worst kind of bad movie. It's just
boring. Delete.
The movie starts, things happen, they don't explain why. More things happen, they don't explain why. Things take a sharp left turn into what the hell is happeningsville around what could technically be considered the third act, and just when you think you're about to get some answers, it cuts to black. Roll credits. It's especially infuriating because you can almost tell that the filmmakers had some sort of point they were trying to get across, like this grand idea was just scratching under the surface, like the missing puzzle piece that would tie everything together is right there if you could just dig deep enough. But no, it doesn't. It falls flat on its face and makes absolutely no sense. So little sense that it makes me wonder how this movie even got made in the first place. Like, it has names in it. There was obviously some money thrown at it. I couldn't find an actual budget, but I'd guess that it was at least a few $1 million. This isn't some amateur hour flick that was made by a couple of kids running around the woods with a DSLR. Did no one bother to raise their hand during the first script read and ask, what is this shit even about? The fact that this movie exists at all is an achievement in and of itself. What's even more amazing is that despite starring 3 fairly recognizable faces, premiering at Sundance, and even playing at the director's Fortnite section in Cannes, I could find virtually no information about this movie, at least information that would provide any kind of insight. According to IMDb, it got a limited release in the US on July 26, 2013. But the numbers says it got a video release on August 6th and made $0 in the box office, which either means that there is so little information about this movie out there that the box office numbers weren't reported, or that they are actually trying to tell me that not a single person was curious enough to buy a ticket. Hell, the lowest box office grossing movie of all time was a movie in 2006 called Zizek's Road, which only made $30. But unofficially, it only netted $20 because the makeup artist saw it with a friend and actually asked the producer for a refund. If something that embarrassing can be documented and reported, there's no way Magic Magic could have grossed $0 at the box office and have no one know about it. So was it actually released in some theaters? Was the movie so small that the box office numbers just weren't reported? I mean, that's not entirely uncommon, but there's so little information about this movie that I honestly couldn't find out. And with a name like Magic Magic, you can imagine that Google doesn't bring back very many helpful search results. The only semi-helpful thing I could find is this adorably short but surprisingly positive review from The Guardian, which wasn't even posted until April 2014, nearly 9 months after the film was supposedly released. So Magic Magic, it's bad, it's boring, it's confusing, it exists, Michael Cera's in it for some reason, and if you're willing to have your mind blown in the most anticlimactic way imaginable, you can watch it right now for the low price of free if you happen to be subscribed to Shudder, or it's only $10 pretty much everywhere else. But despite all of its flaws, despite everything it isn't, despite its poor execution and unrealized intentions, did they get anything right? Well, let's dive in and find out. The film starts out with a montage of shots showing the Chilean countryside set to a haunting piano score. Yep, that was the title card. 2 whole frames for the title card. Like, was that an editing mistake? Was it really supposed to be that subliminal? I'll be honest, I completely missed it the first time I watched the movie. I originally thought, oh, this is one of those movies that's too cool to have a title card. The movie's being all like, yeah, you already know what you're watching, we don't need to remind you. But nope, it was there the whole time. If you really think about it, this title card is the perfect metaphor for this movie as a whole. Most people won't even know that the title card exists, and those who do happen to see it will be completely unaffected and probably instantly forget they ever saw said title card. We're introduced to all 5 of our main cast members. Alicia, played by Juno Temple, has come from California to Chile to visit her cousin Sarah, played by Emily Browning, and her friends, Brink, played by Michael Cera, Sarah's boyfriend Augustine, and his sister Barbara. Alicia is immediately set up to be this fish-out-of-water character.
Is this your first time in South America?
It's my first time outside of the US.
Oh.
Sarah and her friends have been in Chile for a while now and have a habit of speaking Spanish even though Alicia doesn't understand a word of it. Also, from the get-go, nobody likes Alicia. Before their faces are even revealed, we hear them complaining to each other that they're annoyed because they couldn't find Alicia when she first arrived. And they're saying this to her face.
Oye, ¿por qué se demoraron tanto?
Aeropuerto culiao estaba lleno.
Hermana está histérica, se quiere ir.
Baby, go call Paloma. Muy que se relaje, bueno, no la podemos pillar.
Not that any of these characters have much depth to begin with, Barbara especially seems like her sole reason for existing in this movie is to constantly be annoyed with Alicia. Alicia decides to take a shower before setting off on the 12-hour drive to the house that they're staying at, and it's here that we learn that Alicia didn't even want to come here in the first place, and it's even sort of implied that Sarah didn't want her to come either.
Hey, I'm sorry my mom was so pushy about me coming here.
So yeah, this is the first time Alicia's out of the US, she doesn't even want to be there, her cousin doesn't want her to be there, her cousin's friends don't want her to be there. Best vacation ever. They start driving, Sarah tries to get her friends to speak English.
Speak English, please.
So Brink decides to tell Alicia about this musician that he knows that pissed on his audience. Yeah, it's weird. All of a sudden, Sarah gets a phone call and, oh no, there's something wrong with her school and she has to go back to Santiago to take an exam. So she heads out on a bus, leaving Alicia behind with Brink, Augustine, and Barbara. Hooray! Barbara at least tries to make Alicia feel included by letting her pick out the road trip music.
I don't really know that much about music.
Be adventurous.
Just whatever you find, don't worry.
So Alicia picks out a CD at random. It turns out to be some 30s jazz, and of course, because the movie was written to make Alicia feel as awkward and uncomfortable as possible, the CD gets jammed and they're stuck listening to the same music for the rest of the trip. Barbara is thrilled.
Alicia, don't worry, it happens all the time.
Along the way, they pick up a woman named Melda, who I want to say is the caretaker's wife or something like that. Barbara has this little exchange with Alicia.
These people must be pretty exotic for you.
Yeah. It's really rustic.
It's not like they're wearing feathers, you know? White people in this country have totally f***ed them up.
Why the f*** would you say that to someone you met like an hour ago? They find Melda and head back out, but don't worry about her, she's really not important. She almost immediately disappears and doesn't show back up for over an hour. Before they leave, they find 2 abandoned puppies on the side of the road, and decide to take the sickest looking one with them. But literally 45 seconds later, they get annoyed with its yelping, so they leave it on the side of the road. They could have taken both puppies to someone who could have helped them, but no. They only take the sick puppy, just to abandon it a little bit down the road. I really think this scene only exists to further establish that these characters are horrible people. It's not like anyone really put up a fight or offered any other options as to what they should do with the puppy. Barbara was just like, hey look, a sick puppy, we should take it. And then 10 minutes later, Augustine's like, this puppy's annoying, we should leave it. Barbara's all like, you want to leave it? Then leave it. So they do. And Alicia's in the backseat just all like, best vacation ever. The last part of their journey is taken by boat, and when they're getting off the boat, Alicia accidentally drops one of Barbara's bags in the water because, of course she does. They get to the house they're staying at, and Alicia tries to call her cousin to ask her when she's going to be back, but she doesn't have any cell service because, of course she doesn't. They settle down for dinner, and we're back to speaking Spanish.
English.
And if things weren't already uncomfortable enough for Alicia, Barbara asks,
From 1 to 10, how much do you like him?
Rank?
Alicia shrugs off the question and, hold up. What is this? Could nobody be bothered to make sure that the camera was in focus? The subject is here, the focus is here. And look, I understand to a certain extent. A lot of people don't realize just how difficult it is to keep a camera in focus. Higher end lenses don't have autofocus mechanisms in them in order to make room for the glass elements. That way they can let more light in while still producing a sharp image. Regardless, there is usually a person on the camera crew called the focus puller, whose sole job is to make sure that the camera stays in focus. And it's not like this is a complicated shot. It's literally a camera on a tripod pointing at someone. And on top of that, most digital cameras these days have something called focus peaking, which literally highlights on the monitor what is in focus. So movies shot digitally, which this one was, have absolutely no excuse for shots like this ending up in the final cut. All anyone had to do was say, hey, could you check your focus there? and they'd be like, oh, you know what, she is a little out of focus. And this entire scene is nothing but coverage shots, which means they probably set up a camera at one angle, rolled through the entire scene until they got the take they wanted, set up the camera at another angle, rolled through that, and repeated until they had all the shots they wanted. This scene is almost 90 seconds long, which means that the camera sat stationary, completely out of focus for a minute and a half, probably multiple times for multiple takes. Now, I can forgive a camera briefly drifting out of focus on a more complicated shot, like if it were handheld or on a Steadicam or something, but this? There's just no excuse. So dinner's over and oh great, there's a gun. Dude, dial down the creepy. I should probably mention now that it's been brought up a few times that Sarah's original plan was to set Alicia up with Brink.
Augustine brought him here especially for you.
From 1 to 10, how much do you like her?
6.4, 6.5.
But something's telling me that she's probably not feeling up for it. Augustine shows her one of those optical illusion videos that makes your vision go swirly for a few seconds, and he asks her if she wants him to hypnotize her for real.
Maybe tomorrow?
Come on, try new things. It's fun.
But much to Brink's disappointment, Buzzkill Betty says that she's really tired because she didn't get to sleep on the plane and goes to bed. Dude, do you not realize what kind of movie you're in? Alicia decides to rearrange her bedroom for some reason, and she's apparently making so much noise that Barbara has to turn on her music so she can concentrate. And then there's this. Out of nowhere, we get this shot of Augustine just staring at this pattern on the wall. Like, is it supposed to mean something? The shot is so out of place, and the way that it's cut in makes it seem like it's important, but it's literally never shown again for the entire movie. The only time we ever see anything somewhat similar is during the closing credits when it shows these sort of similar designs, but it's never brought up by anybody in the movie. I almost feel like it's presented under the assumption that the audience is already supposed to know what it is. Like the filmmakers think that showing this or something like a crucifix or something should get the same sort of familial response from the audience. That of course is my assumption, but they're kind of forcing me to assume because I don't know what the hell this is, and the movie sure as shit doesn't explain it. And the way it's just awkwardly thrown in there makes it seem like it's kind of important. While Augustine is doing whatever the hell it is he's doing with that wall thingy, Brink tries to ask him where the weirdest place he's had sex with Sarah is while he...
It's so cold. I wish Alicia was here to keep me warm.
Best vacation ever. Alicia tries to cry herself to sleep, but she can't even do that right because she can't do anything right. The next morning, everyone's back to speaking Spanish and acting like generally horrible human beings.
¿Dónde está mi desayuno?
Barbara asks.
Hey Alicia, how did you sleep?
Alicia lies.
You slept great, thank you.
Barbara says.
You look tired.
Rude. Alicia asks.
You heard from Sarah?
So Barbara finally reveals what we already knew because this is a horror movie.
There's no reception here.
Do you not realize what kind of movie you're in? Oh great, Brink's got the gun. Alicia, Augustine, and Brink decide to go for a casual stroll and shoot some birds. Brink spots a bird up in a tree and Alicia really doesn't want him to shoot it. Now, based on everything you know about this character so far, do you think he A, listens to her and doesn't shoot the bird, or B, he shoots the bird. Without hesitation, of course he shoots the bird.
Brink, please don't shoot.
I feel really stupid now. You're upset.
No shit, Sherlock! Brink and Augustine go to play tennis, and Alicia excuses herself to try to call Sarah on top of the hill, and holy shit, what do you know? Her phone magically works. Sarah tells her that she won't come back until tomorrow, so Alicia freaks out and tells her to hurry your ass up because she just can't handle the best vacation ever. She goes back to relay this information to Augustine and Brink, and she meets a dog she just saw herding sheep. The dog must sense that she's having a bad time because it immediately tries to Harvey Weinstein her. They go back to the house for a couple of drinks, and Augustine tells Alicia that they're going to visit his cousins at night, and Alicia's all like,
Sure.
I'm in a foreign country, I haven't slept in days, I just got sexually assaulted by a dog, and now date rape gaze George Michael is offering me alcohol. Sure, we're just over half an hour into the best vacation ever, and I'm already the walking definition of Murphy's Law, but nothing could possibly go wrong. So they go to break into his cousin's house and... seriously, day for night? This was clearly filmed in broad daylight, and they just lowered the brightness and shifted the colors in post to make it look like it was shot at night. Could they have just not been bothered to set up a light or two for this quick shot of them walking past a tree? Day for night shots are usually only used by amateurs who can't afford lights and don't realize how shitty day for night shots look. They shoot their scene in broad daylight, filter it in post, realize how shitty it looks, and then decide to never do day for night again. Day for night only works in very specific circumstances. The only time I can think of that it actually worked well was in Mad Max Fury Road. But they didn't just adjust the brightness and colors in post, they used extremely time-consuming rotoscoping and visual effects to perform sky replacement. And even after all that, the final result isn't exactly realistic looking. It's highly stylized, but it has a purpose because it fits the style of the rest of the movie. So they break into the house, and Brink welcomes Alicia in with,
Welcome to my horny abode.
yeah, nothing bad's gonna happen. They all get drunk, and Brink decides that it'll be a good idea to pretend to be the dog from earlier. You know, that one. The moon is full in broad daylight, we're trespassing, we've been drinking for the better part of the evening. The only real thing missing that would make this day go from good to great is some casual sexual assault. Alicia obviously isn't having any of it, so she kicks Brink in the face, and he actually has the audacity to get pissed off at her.
She kicked me in the face, you stupid idiot!
Alicia runs off into the night in broad daylight and tries to use her phone, again, because she's forgotten what kind of movie she's in. But holy shit, the phone actually works.
Alicia.
Sarah, finally!
She actually gets a hold of Sarah and asks her if she's done taking her exam. Sarah responds with,
Alicia, you know I'm not here because of school.
Alicia then explains to Sarah everything that's happened since she's been gone, which all of the events completely out of context make her sound like an absolute lunatic. And then Barbara's at the window like, hey, you're making too much noise, because that's the thing that she does. Which, wait a minute. Alicia was just at Augustine's cousin's house, and within the span of a phone conversation, Alicia has made it all the way back to their house? How far apart were these two houses? The movie made it seem like going to the cousin's house was gonna be like a thing. Are the houses right next to each other? Why do they have to break into the cousin's house? If they were so close to each other, why didn't they just stay at their house? If they were worried about making too much noise, because apparently that's something Barbara's a bitch about, why didn't they just go to the tennis court or something? The house is pretty big. Are they trying to tell me that there was nowhere in the house they could hang out without bothering Barbara? Even earlier, as soon as they broke into the cousin's house, Augustine says,
Hey, let's go to my uncle.
do the cousin and the uncle have the same house? Or is it a different house? Did they just break into some random house? Is it right next door to their house, or did the movie just do a bad job at conveying how far apart these houses are? Augustine wants Brink to apologize to Alicia, and I've gotta say, at least it seems like he's trying to be understanding of her situation, but it really seems like he's more worried about pissing off Sarah rather than Alicia's well-being. Another night without sleep goes by. Alicia apologizes to Barbara for all the noise that she made last night.
I'm really sorry about all the noise I made last night.
What?
It won't happen again, okay?
You probably see where this is going. Brink feels bad about last night, even though he's still kind of a dick about it, and I honestly can't tell if he's deliberately being a douchebag or if he's accidentally being a douchebag, but his idea of an apology is to make this, and slide it under her pillow. Yay! Sarah's back! Everything's gonna be fine now, right? Group photo time! Best vacation ever! Augustine and Sarah have this little exchange.
What the is wrong with them? Did you tell her?
Which implies that Sarah really wasn't in Santiago for school.
It was my baby too.
But she was really getting an abortion. So, the phone call Alicia had with her last night, which
There's no reception here.
when Barbara told her to be quiet, which possibly didn't even happen, where Sarah told Alicia,
Alicia, you know I'm not here because of school.
that actually happened? The movie is starting to heavily imply that because of her sleep-deprived state and stress, Alicia is starting to go crazy and or see things. So if the phone call she had with Sarah last night, which, remember,
There's no reception here.
didn't actually happen, and it was all in Alicia's head, how would she know that Sarah wasn't in Santiago for school? Is the movie trying to say that the phone call was a delusion, but Alicia's paranoia just happened to be right about Sarah not being away for school? Maybe she really was in Santiago for school, and this conversation Alicia's eavesdropping in on now is the delusion. Alicia tries to confront Sarah as to why she was really in Santiago, but Sarah's all like,
I told you I had to retake an exam.
but Alicia's all like,
It's not what you said on the phone last night.
and Sarah's all like,
You didn't talk on the phone last night.
did they or didn't they talk on the phone? Is Alicia delusional or is Sarah just gaslighting her? If she is delusional, how could Alicia possibly know that she wasn't really there to take an exam? If you're gonna go for the whole paranoia angle, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to pick one. Otherwise, you're just making the movie needlessly complicated and you run the risk of having it make absolutely no sense. Alicia finds Brink's apology picture and reacts as one would expect her to. Despite the fact that it's freezing outside, they all go down to the water. Sarah continues with her plan to set Alicia up with Brink.
Alicia, he's being so nice to you. Gold star, Brink.
Yeah, I like that he's being nice now.
They go down to some rocks and jump in the water. When it's Alicia's turn, she freaks out and can't jump, because she can't do anything right.
No, wait!
And of course, Brink starts making fun of her, so Sarah goes to try to help her.
Why don't we jump together?
No, there's not enough room.
No, there isn't enough room. You've only got the entire lake. Sarah jumps, so Alicia's all like,
Okay, come on,
she doesn't. Back at the house, they're having dinner. Sarah suggests that they take Alicia to a doctor since she hasn't been sleeping, but Barbara's like,
That's not true. You always sleep a little.
so Alicia's like, yeah, sounds legit. Brink and Augustine make fun of her a little more, and Barbara says she'll give her some muscle relaxers to help her sleep. Augustine is trying his hypnotism thing again, so everyone's like, hey, let's hypnotize Alicia. What's the worst that could happen?
You'll feel a lot better. Come on, don't be so scared of everything.
Frank, stay away.
Check your focus! Sarah excuses herself to the bathroom and, oh no, she's bleeding, you know, because she had an abortion, or took an exam, or I don't know. Augustine hypnotizes Alicia and, hey, look, the couch is swirling, just like in that video thing he showed her earlier. Remember that? Well, yeah, now the couch is swirling. Why? I don't fucking know. So Alicia's hypnotized, but Augustine and Brink think she's just messing with them, so they ask her to do stuff. They ask her to touch her nose, so she does.
Okay, are you f***ing with me?
Yes.
So is she hypnotized or not? They ask her to dance, so she does. Brink asks her,
Okay, dance like a whore.
so she does. Then he asks,
Okay, now give Augustine a blowjob.
so she, is she hypnotized or not? Sarah joins in on the action because she's such a great cousin.
Hit yourself in the face.
Brink's all like,
Now put your face in the fire.
and so, well, I guess she really was hypnotized. But if she really is hypnotized, then why?
Okay, are you f***ing with me?
Yes.
Alicia's freaking out because, you know, 1 minute she's being asked to relax, and then all of a sudden she's got her hand in a f***ing fire, and then f***ing Barbara.
Guys, time to keep quiet. What the f***, Barbara? She really hurt herself.
Best vacation ever. So Alicia pops a couple of muscle relaxers and has a fever dream. She freaks out and covers up the mirror in the bathroom. Now, earlier in the film, we've gotten a few quick glimpses of mirrors as some sort of theme, I guess. We've been given a few shots here and there of Alicia just staring into a mirror for some reason. It really seems like the filmmakers were trying to say something about the mirrors, like it's thematically supposed to mean something. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made a point to show Alicia looking into the mirrors and then cover up the mirror in her drug-induced freakout. But much like everything else in this movie, it's never explained. Of course, Alicia banging a book against her head wakes up Barbara, so check your focus! Barbara comes to see what's up.
My hand hurts and I can't sleep. It's the room, I think. What?
Alicia lies about taking the pills for some reason, and wait, didn't they just cover that up with a towel? So I guess at this point Alicia is sleepwalking? I really don't know. She starts hearing voices of the other four talking shit about her, so she goes to check it out, but she can't find it. Hey, there it is again, I was wrong, see? There it is. The camera makes a point to deliberately linger on this image on the wall. Why? What am I missing? She finds Brink sleeping and decides, hey, maybe I'll shoot him in the face with this BB gun. But then she's all like, nah, I got a better one. So she decides to Kevin Spacey him instead, and Brink is understandably freaked out to wake up to a face full of muff. I swear, this face perfectly represents me the first time I watched this movie. What the fuck is happening, and why is it happening? Sarah and Augustine sneak off to have sex on the dog's grave. Yeah, if you thought that one came out of left field, so did I. And what's even weirder is that it's kinda sort of implied that he rapes her.
No,
Let's do it the other way.
I don't want to.
Weirdest place I've had sex with Sarah? A dog's grave.
Yeah, sounds about right. Sarah comes back to find all of the mirrors covered up.
What's with all the mirrors?
I don't know, and it's f***ing infuriating! So the next morning, Augustine, Sarah, and Brink are on a paddle boat, and nobody's having a good time. When all of a sudden, wait, just a damn minute, where the f*** did that diving board come from? So, think that this setup is because in Alicia's state she's gonna be all like, watch this, and then jump in the water, and then they're gonna have to use the paddle boat to go and save her, right? Well, no, you're wrong. She just kind of walks away and that's that. Why? I don't really care anymore. Brink confronts Alicia about rubbing her crotch in his face in the worst way possible. She has no clue what he's talking about because she was sleepwalking. Augustine's all like, not my chair. A big fight breaks out. Alicia explains that she's freaking out because it's been days since she slept, and then in the film's most unintentionally hilarious moment, Alicia sees a dog that humped her leg, so she runs away like it's trying to murder her. But then it turns out that she really didn't see the dog. It was all part of her delusion. Oh, hey, look, it's Melda. Remember her? They explain to Melda that Alicia's not feeling well and that she needs a doctor. And Melda's all like, oh, I just so happen to know a doctor. She fixes up her hand and gives her some herbal tea to drink later to help her sleep. Back at the house, everyone's talking shit about Alicia again, but Sarah's like,
She just needs a doctor for her hand.
And then Barbara lets the audience know.
The nearest hospital is 5 hours away.
And then like a crazy person, Alicia's all like,
I'm okay, guys. I promise I'm not sick.
and Barbara's all like, whatever you say, Buzzkill Betty. Sarah's looking through some magazine that has like devil horns drawn on the pictures. Who drew these pictures? Why did they draw them? Is it important? Much like everything else in this movie, it's never brought up again and it's never explained. Sarah wakes up Alicia only immediately to tell her to go back to sleep. I'm not even kidding. She wakes her up and literally the first thing she says to her is,
Were you asleep? I'm sorry, keep sleeping, baby.
Brink goes through Alicia's bag and finds a bunch of pills. It's heavily implied that they're possibly some sort of antipsychotic meds, but then he makes a crack about her tampons.
Gentle glide for insertion comfort? What is she so afraid of?
So, I don't know. Again, something else that's implied but never explained. Alicia takes off her hand bandage and has, I guess, some sort of spiritual experience? Where is this light coming from? And her hand is magically healed. Hooray! Brink, Sarah, and Augustine are talking about the fact that Alicia might actually have some serious mental issues. Alicia sneaks out. They start freaking out when they realize that she's gone and has taken 15 muscle relaxers in the span of 24 hours. They find Brink's apology picture and he's like, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. Oh, and would you look at this shit? An exterior nighttime scene that wasn't shot in broad daylight? This scene is actually lit like a nighttime exterior scene should be lit, so why the shitty day for night crap earlier? Did they run out of time shooting and literally only have an afternoon to shoot a day for night scene? Did they run over budget and only have the money to rent lights for 1 or 2 nights of filming outside? Of all the things you need to spend money on for a production, hiring crew, paying actors, locations, studio space, camera and lens rental, renting lights is pretty much one of the cheapest things that is necessary. Hell, 18K HMIs, which is probably what they were using for these nighttime scenes, can cost as little as $900 a week to rent, which sounds like a lot, but considering that the light itself is worth about $10,000, $900 a week is next to nothing. It's entirely probable that they already had some of these lights on hand during the rest of filming. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is why in a movie with recognizable names shot on location in Chile, did they take the time and effort to properly light some of the exterior nighttime scenes while some of them were shot using shitty day for night effects? So, they go out to try to find Alicia, they radio the caretaker to come help them. Meanwhile, Barbara's back at the house all like,
Guys, dinner is ready.
Barbara. Down by the water, Alicia's having a nervous breakdown, and she sees the dog chase a sheep off the cliff into the water. Or maybe she doesn't see it, I don't really know what's going on anymore. Brink and Sarah find Alicia down by the water, and she's all like, look, I'm gonna jump now. And they're all like, don't you dare jump in that water. But Alicia's like, 1, 2, 3, motherfucker! And she jumps. They fish her out of the water, and she's just spouting nonsense about seeing a sheep fall in. Then they take her to Melda's house, because, I don't know if you remember this, but Melda knows a doctor. Alicia's freaking out, Sarah's freaking out, everyone's freaking out really. And oh hey, Alicia's been carrying around the dead bird in her raincoat the entire time. Why? I don't know. They force feed her some sleeping pills. Brink says, and Alicia says,
It's not your fault, it's me.
Really? Because I'm kind of thinking this is literally everyone else's fault. You got pushed to go to a foreign country you didn't want to go to in the first place, your cousin immediately abandoned you, then later lied about the reason she abandoned you, her boyfriend's sister was constantly a bitch to you for no reason, their pervy friend murdered a bird after you begged him not to, a dog tried to rape you, their pervy friend tried to rape you, he got pissed off when he couldn't rape you, everyone made fun of you for not jumping in the freezing cold water, they tricked you into burning your own hand and then tried to shut you up by spoon-feeding you muscle relaxers, their pervy friend tried to rape you again, and then they all complained that maybe she's not a buzzkill, maybe she just has some serious psychological health issues, as if it were an inconvenience.
No, you're just being dramatic. She's feeling much better now.
How the is any of this your fault? They drive over to Melda's doctor because they think it's too late to take Alicia to the hospital, and, well, you know.
The nearest hospital is 5 hours away.
The doctor gets to work by... Seriously? Your friend is in the middle of a psychotic meltdown, and you force-fed her sleeping pills after you knew she took 15 muscle relaxers, and this is your solution? They sacrifice a sheep, strip off Alicia's clothes, Dr. Lady tries performing some sort of magic, healing shit. It's really important that you know that I didn't skip anything. They introduced this native, ritualistic, spiritual healing stuff literally like 7 minutes before the movie ends. So while this ritual is getting lit up in here, Augustine, Brink, and Barbara are just sitting in the corner all like, I can't believe we've done this. And Alicia dies. But wait, the doctor's all like, no, she's not dead. It's not what it looks like. Her soul is being purified. It has left her body, but don't worry, it's coming back. You just have to let me finish the ritual. Then she's like, I'm done. Just rub these herbs under her nose and she'll be fine. That's actually what she says.
Tenla calentita. Ponle la hierbita debajo de la nariz cada 5 minutos. Ya más va a estar bien. Ya, yo terminé.
Sarah's all like,
She's dead!
but Augustine's like,
No, she's not. No, she's not. She has seen this before, okay?
So they get in a boat and go back to the house. Augustine is rubbing Alicia's dead body, trying to keep her warm. Sarah's rubbing those herbs underneath her nose. And then the movie ends. Best vacation ever. So you're probably wondering, what in the actual f***? And you'd be right. I've seen this movie 4 times and it gets more confusing every time I watch it. It's especially frustrating because I can tell that writer-director Sebastian Silva has some sort of intentions behind his creative decisions. He explains in one of the only interviews I could find that the story was inspired by a sort of urban myth about a girl who travels abroad, gets stuck with the wrong people, and then suffers a schizophrenic meltdown. And I can kind of see that. That much of the story is in there. But there's so much that comes and goes without any explanation. What's with the mirrors? What's with the cousin line about her going back north to retake an exam? How did Alicia know about it if the phone call was just a delusion? What's with the image on the wall? Why are there similar images in the post-credits? Why is it called Magic when literally nothing in the movie except for arguably the last scene has anything to do with magic? It really feels like the answers are right there if you just look hard enough, but it's f***ing infuriating because they aren't. There are no answers. The movie starts, it introduces a bunch of stuff that is never brought up again or never explained, and then it just ends in the most anticlimactic way imaginable. A lot of bad but more or less competently made movies like these usually have some sort of disconnect between intent and execution. It really feels like Sebastian Silva intended to have a lot more of the story to be conveyed, but because of poor execution, every question it asks just raises more questions. I'm not here to just rip the movie to shreds because it's bad. Plenty of people on YouTube already do that. I wanted to see if that even though Magic fails on almost every level, did they get anything right? There is one thing that this movie got right. It's a moment so brilliantly executed that it almost feels like a scene from an entirely different movie. It happens around the 32-minute mark. Alicia just saw Brink kill the bird, she was just Harvey Weinstein by the dog, and it's been a couple of days since she slept. She's surrounded by assholes who hate her, and then this happens. This is the first time we see her paranoia start to creep in, and it's perfectly executed. The framing of the shot, how Barbara is just enough out of focus for us to see that she's staring right at Alicia, how Alicia kind of wants to look over, but also kind of doesn't. And then how it cuts over to Barbara to reveal that it was all in Alicia's head. Have you ever gotten that feeling that someone is watching you, like someone is standing over your shoulder, and you just have that feeling like something is uncomfortably heavy? This is what that feeling looks like. And it really makes me sad. Sebastian Silva had an idea. He intended to visualize what Alicia's paranoia looked like. He executed that idea with clever framing and editing, and it's a damn shame that this is really the only moment in the movie that sticks. In a movie that is clearly filled with unrealized ideas, it's disappointing that this brief scene is all it has to show for it. But this brief moment is so effective, and that's why I think this movie has at least some redeeming value. So, that's Magic. Would I recommend it? Probably not. But maybe I would, I don't know. Maybe some of you out there could give me some insight as to what the actual is going on in it. Like I said before, this movie flew so far under the radar that there's virtually no information to go on about it. At least any information that I could find. If any of you have anything you could add, please let me know down in the comments below. I'm dying to find out. Also, if there's a movie you thought was an absolute dumpster fire but at least had a few good things in it, be sure to let me know down in the comments too. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe and hit that little bell because I'll probably be making more of these videos as soon as I can. Until next time.